Hello again, UWA Elite fans, and a very happy 2025 to all of you. I'm the man of 1,000 spreadsheets, MC Hale, and oh yes, we've been busy this offseason. Not only with the 2024 year-end awards, the winners of which you can find on UWAElite.com and all of our social media, but also with making sure our return to South River would be well worth the wait. And well, I think once we finish this card rundown, you'll be right there with us once again. Setting the Standard is coming your way this Saturday, March 29th. Doors open at 6 p.m. and bell time is at 6:30. Of course, we're opening the season at the UWA Elite Army Base at the South River VFW, 31 Reid Street in South River, New Jersey. Tickets are available at UWAElite.com now, and while you're there, check out the Season Pass. Seats to every single UWA Elite event in South River, all for one low price. It's also a very, crafty theme this month. So if you've got that diamond pickaxe stored next to your ender pearls, it's time to break them out and show us how much of a square you really are. And so without any further ado, let's kick off the 2025 UWA Elite season. Last Breath saw the team of KTB, Robbie Roller, Big Dan, and Cypress, the Do or Die Posse, claim the very first tag team golden ticket briefcase. Was it won clean and by the rulebook? If you're wondering what the answer to that could possibly be, then let me welcome you as a new viewer to UWA Elite, discovering us for the very first time. Now, when you have the golden ticket, you have the power to demand a match against the champions at any event, at any time. But the Do or Die Posse won't exactly have to do that, at least not quite. You see, Roller, Dan, and KTB will be entering into a 6-man tag team matchup against none other than the UWA Elite Tag Team Champions, Jay the Key Evans, and the evidently fully healed way ahead of schedule, explosive Eddie Thomas, Pretty Freaking Ugly. Now if you're better at math than I am, then you've noticed that Thomas and Evans are one man short of their half of the 6-man tag. Well, who better to fill that spot than the man you voted as the winner of 2024's Comeback of the Year, Flash Carter. Now we know the chemistry Flash has with Jay Evans, and we know the chemistry Evans and Eddie Thomas have. Look no further than the Fireman's Carry blockbuster they broke out to win those titles. So will this new high-energy alliance be able to take down the strength and experience of the Do or Die Posse? Saturday night at Setting the Standard, it's the tag team golden ticket holding Robbie Roller, KTB, and Big Dan, the Do or Die Posse, in a 6-man tag against Flash Carter and the UWA Elite Tag Team Champs, Jay Evans and Eddie Thomas, Pretty Freaking Ugly. The newly crowned UWA Elite Champion, your fan-voted favorite wrestler of 2024, the anti-hero, Joey Adams. He has 2 different members of the roster trying to claim a match with him, but for slightly different reasons. One is Corey Dillinger, 2024's Wrestler of the Year, as voted on by you, the fans, the man who held that title until last breath. The man Adams technically took the belt from, although he was never actually pinned. Yes, Dillinger is looking for a rematch with Adams, but because Adams tapped out Chris Powers to win that last breath triple threat main event, Corey wants a one-on-one matchup this time to either make the anti-hero's title reign legitimate or just take back the title altogether. But before he can do that, there's another man who also wants it, Adams. The de facto leader of the Old Guard and the man who held the contract of Joey Adams, 2024's most hated wrestler and Dynamite Davis tournament winner, stuntman Chris Powers. Well, in order to decide who gets this rematch with the anti-hero, UWA Elite management has ordered each of them to find a tag team partner to help them reach their goals. Winner of the tag team match earns a shot at Adams for their captain in the main event that same night at Setting the Standard. Well, Dillinger went through a few names of potential allies before being approached by the New York Drip Matt Vertigo. Now, Corey hadn't really considered that option, as Vertigo has been a bit distant, since in his view he previously cost Dillinger a UWA Elite Championship title reign. Well, the Diligent One squashed that notion, Vertigo accepted, and we can now confirm that Matt Vertigo will indeed be in Dillinger's corner for this matchup at Setting the Standard. Now, but what about Powers? He has not one but 2 built-in options for tag team partners right in his own Old Guard stable. Mike Seaway and TJ Blade met up to discuss who they themselves thought would be picked, and the decision came in. Powers said that with Adams hurting the Old Guard from within, he needed to be sure of the loyalty of Blade and Seaway. And since Blade was handpicked by Powers and has already proven himself at Brawl for It All, among others, Powers would pick Mike Seaway as his tag team partner for setting the standard, so he can truly evaluate him, in the heat of battle, as it were. That means setting the standard will feature a tag team matchup with diligent Corey Dillinger, teaming with New York Drip Matt Vertigo, against stuntman Chris Powers and his old guard teammate Massive Mike Seaway, with the shot at UWA Elite champion anti-hero Joey Adams that night on the line. Now, what about Adams? He says his goal is restoring balance to UWA Elite. Yes, he has the big belt, but that also means he's got the biggest target on his back. Personal feelings, extremely different feelings, for each of the possible competitors aside, the anti-hero says taking him down will be the hardest thing either of them have had to do. So this Saturday in our main event, it will be either Corey Dillinger or Chris Powers challenging Joey Adams for the anti-hero's UWA Elite Championship. Now, while the do-or-die posse squabble with tag champs Pretty Freaking Ugly and Flash Carter in a non-title match, a big question remains. Who will be the first official challengers for those tag team titles? Well, in order to figure that out, we will see on Saturday a tag team triple threat #1 contenders match. First up is the X-Express, the team of Troy Locke, V. Daniel, and their possibly still confused but still dedicated mentor, Jeff Cannonball. Well, they had a taste of gold last year and closed out the season with a huge victory over the imploding contingent. More on that in a bit. In the Nick Kay Power Play match, which, by the way, you the fans voted as Match of the Year, and was very likely a huge reason for the X-Express winning Tag Team of the Year as well, after adding 2024's Newcomer of the Year. Yeah, it was a bit of a banner year here for the X-Express at the awards dinner. Newcomer of the Year, V. Daniel. Now, second, it's the Lost Boys, Ryan Rise and Miles Penn, who came up short in the Golden Ticket ladder match at Last Breath, after getting hit by the OMG Move of the Year, a beast-salting KTB, sending a ladder crashing into both Penn and Rise. A missed opportunity for the Lost Boys that they say will not pass them by a second time. And finally, the Just Us League. In their promo, we saw an ever-increasingly unhinged Michael Massacre reasoning, if you can call it that, reasoning with Steeler that they shouldn't have to challenge for a rematch. Their strawberry-laden celebration at Last Breath and accepting a title defense matchup might have been ill-advised, but Steeler is refocused, saying he and Massacre deserve the national spotlight, and they will go through the Lost Boys, the X-Express, and anyone else who stands in their way. Massacre and Steeler, the Just Us League, take on Rise and Penn of the Lost Boys and the Jeff Cannonball-advised X-Express of Troy Locke and V. Daniel in a triple threat tag team matchup with a shot at the titles on the line, and it's coming your way at Setting the Standard. Well, not that there was that much doubt at the end of Last Breath as to the status of Ty Thomas in the contingent, but it's now been made 100% official. The contingent is no longer truly terrific. As a matter of fact, in his promo, BT Bull said Ty was always the weak link, the joke of the contingent. Not only that, but Bull further claimed that Ty was Nick Kay's favorite, the Golden Boy, a notion Thomas strongly denies, and on Saturday he's gonna ugly him up a bit. Now, for his side of things, Ty says he practically handed Bull the UWA Elite Championship and helped protect the contingent while Bull was on his sabbatical, as well as protecting Bull's own 400-plus day title reign. Wrestler of the Year, Golden Ticket winner, Ironman champion, Ty listed some of his accomplishments earned while representing the contingent for 2 years. Now, the two former partners are looking to not only go for round 2, but also upping the stakes for this grudge match. BT Bull has demanded and Ty has accepted that the loser of their match will have his head shaved bald. Now, yes, I'm aware of the irony of talking about the indignity of losing a hair versus hair match while currently looking as I do, but getting a voluntary haircut for charity does not even come close to having a former friend and ally be the reason you have to sit in front of the UWA Elite Army and be mocked for coming up short. And if Bull really wants to know what that feeling's like, he can just ask his contingent teammate Eric Corvus how he felt at Brawl for It All 2022. The post-terrific era of the contingent officially begins Saturday at Setting the Standard, when BT Bull takes on former teammate, truly terrific Ty Thomas, one-on-one, in a grudge match, hair versus hair. Jungle Jim Wilder. You, the fans, voted for him, very understandably, as the most improved UWA Elite wrestler in 2024. Not only for his Cinderella-style pursuit of and championship reign with the Iron Man title, but also pushed by his recovery from injury early on in the year. And who was the one who put him on the shelf to begin with? His opponent for setting the standard, mat mechanic Eric Corvus. Now this is one of the more intriguing matchups on the card for a very important reason. When we last saw Jungle Jim Wilder, he had been victorious in his last breath title defense against Boom Harden, but he needed assistance out of the ring following a brutal assault by a masked attacker, an attacker who revealed himself to be none other than UWA Elite Hall of Famer Mike Quest. Now, not only was Quest the first UWA Elite Iron Man champion with a lengthy title reign, which lasted about 10 months, but he is also the former Garden State Gods tag team partner of one Eric Corvus. Now, Corvus sounds confident, saying that if Wilder was at the mountaintop, then the mat mechanic was practically on the moon. But with Corvus losing out on ringside insurance policies Nick Kay and Ty Thomas, and BT Bull being very preoccupied with Ty at setting the standard anyway, could the mat mechanic's confidence be a little shaky? Or was this truly an unprovoked attack by Quest that Corvus had nothing to do with? And for Wilder, does he need to look over his shoulder? Has Corvus set other traps for him? Could Nick Kay still be leading the contingent? Remember, Kay never actually attacked or defended Ty Thomas. And can Wilder pull all of this out of his head and concentrate on the task at hand, proving his title win and reign are not a fluke? His previous victory over Corvus himself was not a fluke, and Jungle Jim Wilder really is a force to be reckoned with at the top of the UWA Elite Mountain. It's Jungle Jim defending his Iron Man championship against the contingent's mat mechanic Eric Corvus, one-on-one for the title at Setting the Standard. The I Championship is the title generally thought of as the fans' championship, the people's title. It's the one most closely identified with fan favorites moving up the ladder, and it tends to be the title that receives the most opportunities for fan-voted stipulations. And so it is quite appropriate that the first I Championship match of 2025 will feature two of the more popular members of the UWA Elite roster, champion Bulldog Pittman, the Silk City King, against challenger and longtime fan favorite Sean Damage McNellis. Now, both are former Iron Man champions. Damage has held the I Championship before, and of course Bulldog is the current title holder, so both know what it's like to represent the UWA Elite Army in the ring. Similarly, both will have to change gears very quickly from their 2024 seasons. Tech vs. SDM was feud of the year. It was a feud that McNellis won, I guess, if you can win a feud. They didn't exactly hug it out at the end. But SDM played possum at last breath, outsmarting the master of the mind games, King Tech, making him believe he saw the light and joined Tech's great awakening. But Bulldog isn't about psychology as much as he's about just beating you with his athleticism and just this pure in-ring talent. And speaking of Bulldog, his year was spent looking over his shoulder, having to defend himself against the contingent and Mike Seaway in the Old Guard. In theory, it should be easier to focus on Lone Wolf SDM and hit that finisher of the year shock collar, but any change in strategy you've had to use for a full year is going to be a tough adjustment. Friendship, respect, both McNellis and Pittman recognize the importance of both of these factors, and both say that they are ready to put aside their goodwill if it means that they leave South River with the UWA Elite I Championship belt. It's Damage challenging Bulldog for that title, and it is happening this Saturday at Setting the Standard. And last but certainly not least, we've been discussing over the past 10-15 minutes or so how these matchups result from past encounters, the histories between the competitors. But how about kicking off 2025 with something brand new, a first-time ever matchup? When Eighth and Promise first joined the UWA Elite roster, hearing him talk about King Tech and vice versa was a much different experience than it is today. Promise said he wanted to emulate Tech, the way he interacted with and respected the fans. But now Promise calls him a monster, barely even wanting to interrupt his training to speak about his opponent on camera. On Tech's side of things, he initially saw Ethan as moldable, a potential ally. But now, the Red Lion has written off the original member of the Lost Boys. The Mad Queen has disdainfully referred to Promise as being young and full of hope, with 2024's master of the microphone King Tech adding that, quote, the promise would be sacrificed at the altar to the gods of the squared circle. We last saw Ethan Promise trying to help Rise and Penn in the Golden Ticket ladder match, but this Saturday at Setting the Standard, he will go at it alone when he squares off against the bringer of the Great Awakening, the Red Lion, King Tech. Setting the Standard. It's not just the name of the event, it's the objective too. We set the tone for 2025 this coming Saturday, March 29th at the UWA Elite Army Base, the South River VFW, 31 Reid Street in South River, New Jersey. Doors open at 6 p.m. That's half an hour before the 6:30 bell time, so get there early, and don't forget the Minecrafty theme this month. Maybe bring a few extra dollars to barter with the piglins at the merch table too. Alliances will be tested, reformed, restructured, and possibly even ignored altogether as UWA Elite brings you the premier event of the 2025 season, Setting the Standard. Get your tickets for this event, or heck, pick up the season pass and get them all at once over at UWAElite.com. Follow us on all the socials and tell us what has you most excited for this one. Until then, this is the man of 1,000 spreadsheets, MC Hale, saying I will see you at ringside.